Our guest this week on Pinball Podcast is Tom Graf from Appleton, Wisconsin. Now, Tom, he's a hell of a nice guy, heck of a pinball player. He's currently ranked 63rd in the country, and I believe he's won the state title once up in Wisconsin. I think he might have pulled a Josh Sharp and taken second 2 or 3 times also. But this conversation, I really enjoyed it. We talked about Stern build qualities. We talked about Indisc. We talked about District 82, which is their main arcade up there. That's looks like an incredible place to play. And I feel like this episode you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy. So without further ado, Tom Graf.
He's got the Rona.
I got the Rona. That's how we're going to start it out. I don't have the Rona. I'm just coughing. I'm good. We're fine. Tom, how you doing there?
Good. I'm good, Travis. How are you?
Rona free for now. How about yourself?
Good. I'm really good. You know, considering I work in healthcare, feeling blessed. So.
Yeah, it's been crazy out there. We were just talking about off stream that the state of pinball. It's like, there's like, what do? You're playing at home. Like, I don't know about you. I'm still going out on location some, but we're having to wear a mask, and I've grown used to wearing a mask a little bit because I just have to make sure I don't eat anything freaking terrible before I go out and play. Like I'm very well aware of my dental hygiene and my breath mints and all that all of a sudden more than ever. Like, this might inadvertently be a good thing for pinball because it's always been about the deodorant and stuff like that.
Right?
The body odor.
Right.
Now
sure.
I'm pristine. I'm sanitized. I got breath mints. I'm good.
Yeah, I've been really limited about going out. I mean, I've done the pin skins, which was really closed. I mean, we had probably 10 people there. And then I did a Player 2 arcade bar they have one in Appleton here, and they just opened one up in Green Bay, and they had a Turtles, and they invited me out to do the stream there, which I was like, yeah. Basically, again, it was before they opened. There was, 4 of us. I felt pretty comfortable.
Yeah. In that Pinskins event, that was actually a pretty successful event. That was probably the best event that's been put on for all year long since Pin Masters, pretty much.
Yeah,
it's been the only event, I think.
Yeah, well, I think there was something in Europe recently.
Yeah, but we're not going to count that.
Right.
No, I'm sure. I heard it was great. I heard it was great. I just haven't got to watch it yet.
No, I haven't either. But yeah, they're really, there's not much to talk about with tournaments and stuff because there's really no IFPA. Now there are tournaments in our area going on. I'm just choosing not to go to them at this point, just because I don't really want to put myself or my patients at risk. So, I mean, I'm pretty much going to work wearing an N95 mask all day long, and then, going back home. And we have done some outside activities, like my kids at baseball, but that's been pretty good as far as social distancing goes, even with the kids, as much as possible.
Right. Well, the good thing is even without going to pinball, for those that are seeing this on YouTube, behind you got plenty of pinball, though.
That's true.
Fill up your date.
There's another room, and then there's another room. So, and this is the small room. So this is really considered the TV home theater room that leaked pinball machines into it.
So the small room has a Stranger Things, a Guardians, and an Iron Maiden. And I can't tell. Is that AC/DC nearest to you? I can't tell.
It's Deadpool.
Deadpool. Oh, I was close. It's
It's red.
It's red. It's got an action button.
Right.
It's fine. They're just like each other. I don't know what everybody's talking about. Well, how do you like Stranger Things? I'm curious about that because you're about the only person I know of that has not just that, but has extensive time on it. Like, everybody's played it, but to have actual extensive time on it.
I actually enjoy it. It's a good game. It's, you know, as far as toys and stuff go on the pro model, you know, you got the Demogorgon and the ramp flap, and that's about it. I do have the UV kit in it, which is really cool. But I really like the Stranger Things theme, and the actually everything is pretty well integrated. I think Stern did a really good job with the code. They just got to put some. I think there's 2 more wizard modes that they need to add in.
Okay.
So it's close to being done.
See, and that's interesting too, because I was looking over some of the code updates, and it appears that they've had about a dozen this year alone on that thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they don't have the wizard modes in yet. Is it more or less that they've just been polishing stuff along the way?
Pretty much. I mean, they've been adding some things in. They added the bullshit.
I heard about that. Like, what is that mode? I heard everybody talking about it. I haven't heard it yet or seen it yet. I just heard about it.
It's kind of a mystery award. So you shoot it in the shot between the ramp, the left ramp and the drop target area, and just kind of starts randomly, and it's basically all the characters from the show saying bullshit. You know, it's bullshit, it's bullshit. And I think I'm probably wrong, but I think it has to do with, you know, your switches and stuff. Bullshit. There's a lot of bullshit. It's funny. It's a cool mode. I'm glad they added it in.
See, you gotta admit though, there's a little meta to that they have a mode in there saying everything's bullshit, and that seems like what everybody's been saying about the game at times on the forums and everything. No, it's one of those things. Like, I'll freely admit I was in line for an LE early on, and the reason being because I'm a huge Stranger Things fan. Like, I've watched the seasons maybe 2 or 3 times each. Like, sure. I love the show. So I was thinking to myself, okay, great theme, you know, Stern's making it, let's see what it's all about. And then as soon as we got it, the only thing that was really stopping me is if I was in on a pro, I probably would have went through with it. But then the LE, as soon as I saw the Demogorgon, I immediately thought that shot doesn't look right. Like, immediately, as soon as I saw it. And I don't have that much confidence in my play, Tom.
Well, and the code has brought that along, because initially I was going to say, when I initially played the game, I absolutely hated it. I played it at InDisc.
Right. I think I was there with you the first time you might have played it, because it was there off to the side. Project Pinball brought one, I think.
Yep.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yep. And you'd throw a couple bucks in it, and, you know, and of course, the one thing you focus on when you first play it is the Demogorgon shot.
Right.
So you get the ramp down, and, you know, at the time you had to get it in the mouth to progress. And now you can actually hit it, and it registers hits, and you can progress through without actually making that hole, but or the mouth shot. But, you know, I'm playing this trying to hit it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is absolutely terrible. Like, you know, but I was so focused on that one shot. But since I've bought the game a couple months ago, on my personal game, I can make that shot pretty well, trapping up on the left side, and I'd say a good 60-70% of the time I'm making that shot.
Really? Yeah. You think a lot of it is just setup?
I think it is.
So in terms of just having a little bit higher pitch, maybe?
It's possible. It's hard to say. I mean, I do typically pitch my games higher than most people, just because, you know, you and I were used to playing in tournaments, and typically that's how they're set up. But yeah, I don't know. My game also has a ton of plays on it, so I don't know if it's just breaking it in too.
It could be it. There's probably a lot to say about muscle memory as well. Like, you get in the groove, you get used to the shot a little bit too. Because I mean, I have less than 10 plays on it Totally. And the very first time I played it in disc, I hit the mouse shot twice in a row. And I'm like, I don't know what everybody's complaining about. This is easy. Like, I don't have any idea. So then I kept shooting and I was like, after the 5 misses in a row, I'm like, oh, okay. And then I got up to 14. I'm like, yep, okay. That makes more sense.
I get it now.
It gave me that false sense of security. I was just going beast mode on it because I got 2 in a row.
Well, and of course, I was talking to Luke Nahorniak because we're good buds, and I was sitting there watching him put up these high scores on it. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I'm totally avoiding that and just playing all the modes. And I'm like, oh, okay, So
yeah, that was the funny part. That's why he told me immediately. He's like, don't even aim for the middle. He's like, don't do it. He's like, just avoid it. So I was like, you're telling me the sucker shot is like the main shot in the game? Like, what? Just avoid it? So I listened to him. It's funny because the next time I played it was in Colorado during one of their side tournaments at Nationals and Pin Masters.
Yep.
Is that one of the 1-ups? And I think I forgot who was in my group. It might have been, I think I played it twice. I think I had Bowden and somebody else. And then I think I played Joe Lemire on it once. And I just did the exact same thing. Like, I just avoided the middle as much as I could. And then even when it did its upside down thing or whatever, I was looking at it. I'm like, okay, I see the points counting down or whatever it's doing. I'm like, this looks like it's worth a lot, but I'm going to listen to Luke and just say, don't hit that. And I'm just going to leave it. So I'm just sitting there. I'm just watching 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Yeah, I'm just watching millions count down. I'm thinking to myself, all right, maybe I should have done that. I don't know. But I mean, it worked out though. I just listened to what he was saying, just start modes, get into, I don't even know what it's called, where you hit, it's like the Attack from Mars thing where you get into total annihilation. What do they call that?
It's called total isolation.
Oh, there you go. So that's what I was going for as well. I didn't get there, but I feel like even if you're going for that, you're going to start some modes along the way anyways in a multi-ball when it sticks. So, but yeah, it's just, it's fun. So you said you have a pro, right?
Yes.
Because that seems to be what everybody says that I do talk to. They prefer the pro over the premium.
From what I've seen just online on Pinside, a lot of people complain about the lock shot on the premium. I think the projector's cool, but a lot of people seem to have trouble dialing in that shot. And to me, it's like, if I have to get a game, spend a couple $1,000s more, and try to get that feature to work, it's not worth it to me. So yeah, I on most of the games nowadays, I think I prefer playing the pros than I do the premium and LEs.
Yeah, I'm getting there. As you can tell, my $9,000 paperweight behind me right now.
I know we've talked about that. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Yeah. For those that don't know, I got a Ninja Turtles LE. And the reason why some of you may not know about that, because I was talking about it a lot early on, but I haven't got the damn thing to work 100%. It's we're filming this right now, August 7th. I got it July 2nd, and it was already less than 100% by July 4th. And it has not been 100% since then. I've been waiting on boards, got new boards in, something else goes out. Now I'm waiting on a servo board, which is supposed to be here today. So I'm hoping today, because the glider's out right now. Right. It'll score points, but I can't move it back and forth. I can't get the diverter to go where I want it. And that's a major feature if you get a premium or an LE.
Yep.
Like, besides the turtle van spitting out, it's a major feature. And what I'm finding is too, and I've talked about this a few times, I don't think I've talked to you about this, but the turtle van is actually eating balls during a multi-ball. So it'll reload whatever the code is. It causes the turtle van to reload 3 locked balls or whatever. So if you hit the right ramp while it's doing that action, you're going to lose your ball.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, that's what I say every single time it happens. So I'm like,
great. I hit that shot and I just F'd myself.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. And I haven't heard anybody else talk about it. So it's making me think, is something up with mine that it's just firing early, or is that what it's supposed to do? Because I haven't seen another premium or LE. And I think I watched Dead Flip doing it. I noticed it was shooting up there at the same time during his multi-ball, but he didn't hit a right ramp shot during that time.
Okay.
So that's really frustrating because that's a feature for the premium and LE too, having the turtle van load up and be able to spit out balls during the turtle power multi-ball.
And I know they just released a code update, like not a couple days ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm waiting. I always wait at least 48 hours, put the code in because
Smart. I don't. I just go for it.
well, I used to, and legit 2 years ago or 3 years ago, as soon as I got my Star Wars, I bricked the damn thing with one of the code updates. Like it just bricked it.
I remember that, and that was one of the time I had a Star Wars Pro, and I think that was one of the times where I didn't update my game, and I was like, good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, to put this in perspective, Tom, that was one of the first times I updated my game immediately. Like I'm usually really lazy about doing that, but I love Star Wars and I love the theme. And I'm like, oh, new code. Okay, let's go. Get it loaded up. I'm all ready to go. Hit the start button and nothing. I'm like, what in the hell? It just first world problems, man. Breaking my shit. That's all I do.
I've bought a lot of new unboxed games, and I've had issues, I think, with every new unboxed game I've had. Most of them have been small, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. I mean, you're with pinball, you're gonna always have something amiss, you know. And I mean, I was actually thinking about it before we went live, and I was like, you know, what games have I gotten and you know, had issues with? And it's like, okay, I bought my first new unbox was Spider-Man. Get it downstairs, put the legs on. My friend Eric was here, and you know, turn it on, nothing's happening. It's like, that's weird, you know. And at the time, I didn't know a lot about fixing games, and he's pretty good at pinball repair. And sure enough,
about what year was this was happening?
Oh, this was probably 2008, 2009.
Okay. So that gives everybody an idea, about 12 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, and this was, you know, this was towards the end of the original Spider-Man run. Because I think it came out in like 07. I being new to the hobby, I bought from pinballs.com. And my game it's considered like a limited edition because it's signed by Steve Ritchie and Gary Stern.
About to say, you might have the only $15,000 Spider-Man in existence.
No, I wouldn't say that. But getting back to my story, so it was the fuse in the service outlet. It was supposed to be a 5 amp fuse, I think it is, and it was like a 0.5. So obviously, you know,
little issue there.
Yeah. So, you know, which begged the question, like, was this ever tested when it left the factory, kind of thing? Because you'd think somebody would have caught that turning the game on. But yeah, put a fuse in there, the right fuse, and then everything worked great. And I really haven't had a lot of issues with that game since, you know. I mean, good experience, but
it's kind of a unique thing that you're talking about, though, the fact that a lot of these pins, you know, we're paying good money for these pins. Obviously, if it's new in box, you're not paying less than $5,500 usually, you know, usually, yeah, but
absolutely.
Typically. Right. And so even the premiums and LEs, obviously they get even higher. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where I even find myself kind of getting to the point, I'm getting to that line where I'm like, what's acceptable that I know I've got to tweak something, dial something in, compared to just flat out having to fix something to where I feel like I'm actually an out-of-state line worker for Stern, constantly trying to get something just right. You know what I mean?
Right. You got to understand, I mean, the games are shipped. They're going to be moving around. Crap happens, you know. So yeah, I mean, you might turn on your game and you know, or you might want to check your game before you turn them on, make sure the connectors are okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I tend to play them, you know, I'll turn them on, play them if I notice some things. Like when I I bought my Jurassic Park Pro. I was the target behind the Raptor that would start the Raptor was getting stuck on the post, and I actually had to take the target out and reposition it so it wouldn't get stuck anymore. But you know, things can happen. I mean, switches can get out of whack. You know,
There's just so many moving parts to the machine. It's bound to have something always.
You're gonna have something wrong with it. If you buy a pinball machine, expect at some point in its life you're gonna have to fix something.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm at. That I have the expectation is that there's going to be little things.
Yeah.
Especially out of box. I have the expectation with everything that there's going to be little things. What I don't have the expectation of is that node boards are going to completely fail, or mechs are going to completely not work. Just like that turtle van, digging into the back of the ramp. I'm just kind of thinking to myself, because I hate that happens, because I feel like that takes away from Borg's hard work, from Dwight Sullivan's hard work, from everybody that's put time into that pin. Like the artwork with Zombie Yeti, everybody. And then you have one thing that's a central mech that just flat out, you could tell that obviously it got past the Whitewood stage. And It should, in theory, work, and it's working for a lot of people. This isn't everybody. So it means at some point, whoever was actually assembling that just got flat out lazy, and whoever was checking on the work just got flat out lazy that day. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, with these boards, with surface mount components and stuff, it's hard to say if, when that stuff's going to fail. And, you could get a faulty board from the the actual makers. So,
and it's not just Stern, because the same thing happened with my Hot Wheels. I have a driver board that went out within 48 hours, and the Hot Wheels has been the other brick that's been sitting there because the magnet and the slings don't work right now.
I bought a Houdini, and the CPU went out on it, and ended up, sending it back. They sent me one really quick, and
it's obvious. We should have just played foosball. like Zach Manning talked about. We should have just gotten to foosball.
Exactly. It'd be a lot easier. These machines aren't light, No,
they're not. They're not. That's why every single time I just push it upstairs, because I can't use the Escalera to get up my stairs the way that they're set. So I have to actually physically put the machine on a piece of cardboard, and I just get underneath it and I just push it up there, while Monica, my wife, just supports me along the way. She cheers me on. She'll sometimes help push, though.
So do you have like a landing next to a wall?
Yeah. So what we'll do, we'll pick it up, and I'll walk up there, and she'll be down at the bottom of it, because she is brutally strong for her size. It's insane. She used to be in the fitness competitions and athletics and all that. So she still has that mama bear strength, is what I call it. So yeah, as soon as I lay it down on the landing, she'll just get underneath it and just push it straight up vertical to a 90-degree angle. And then we'll just kind of shift it around and then lay it down on the cardboard and just get on with our push. And I tell her every single time, I'm like, that's my workout for the day. Like, I'm good. Legs are done for 3 weeks.
So I have to show you what I do, because I have a real narrow landing, and I would have to take the head off of my games to get the Escalera and the body of the game down to the floor of my basement.
Really? Even the modern games, like everything, you gotta take the heads off? Wow.
No, I don't. What I do, I have a Harbor Freight lift table,
right?
A lift table that I put, and what I do is I bring the game down to basically the first stair, put the game on the lift, and then I take the Escalera off, and that works out really well. And then I can just basically wheel my game into the basement, and kind of the back end of the game with the coin door sticking up. And then I can bring it in here and put the legs on and stuff. And, but
it's funny how we end up getting a system down.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Pretty much.
Other people can see it and they're like, how did you do this? Like, just watch. Watch. I got it.
When anybody buys a game, I'm like, let me do this, kind of thing. Like, you're not going to know how to get it out of here. We'll get it out in one piece, but just you got to trust me on this kind of thing. Yeah.
Gosh. Yeah, exactly. That reminds me of our buddy Austin Trent, who's down here in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
He puts his games, he has 3 of them, and he has them upstairs, right? Which sounds normal. A lot of people have them upstairs. What's not normal is that his landing is basically a full-on, like, 180-degree turn.
Okay.
Right? Like, to where you're going up, and then you got to immediately turn, go back right.
Yep.
He somehow has a Hobbit, Jersey Jack Hobbit up there. And I still have no idea. The way he described how he got it up there, that somebody had to come and they actually just carried it all the way and they got underneath it, forcing it through. And he's like, yeah, I thought my helper was just going to die. It was just going to drop on him at any point. And I'm like, and you're still willing to get it up there? Like, you're not. Like, the things we do for pinball. I think my help's going to die, but I'm going to chance it to get this sumbitch up there.
At least it's the helper, not myself, right?
Yeah, at least he's going to break the fall of the pin and it'll be okay. Right. I'll still get Hobbit up there no matter what. So we touched base earlier on the Pinskins event that was held at, I think they were calling it District 82 at that point.
No, it was formerly Titletown Pinball.
Right.
And now it's District 82 Pinball.
So tell us about that place a little bit, because I've never been there, but I've heard about it a lot, and I know that that's the talk that eventually there will be some huge national level tournaments going there, because you guys have built up like an insane scene there, to where you guys are already getting like national level Whopper numbers pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten to a point where we have Tuesday night leagues, and the winner's getting 30, 35 Whopper points because there's 80, 90 people showing up.
That's incredible.
On a Tuesday night. And the funny thing was when Eric, he kind of came to me because he's in my Fox Cities Pinball League, and he's like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I was kind of like, I don't know, our area, we have some pinball, but I mean, I'm like, it'd be great. But he's like, yeah, and I'm thinking about doing like a Tuesday night league. He's like, do you think I could get a lot of people? And I'm like, honestly, no.
Wow. So he legit started this. See, I always thought the community was already established, that place.
Well,
so that place established the bigger community.
Yes.
Is what you're saying happened.
Yeah, the community's been established, but he's certainly brought in a lot more people to the community. Because there's always been tournaments. I've been running tournaments out of my house for probably the past 6-7 years. And our scene was pretty much, we had a Milwaukee scene, which there wasn't a lot. It was mostly home collectors. There's Jim Radovich, Neo Skywalker. And then there's some local events. And then there was the Madison area. And that was more of a, there's Madison Pinball, and they have a ton of locations out there, supporting, the hobby and local pinball, and a lot of tournaments were being done there. And then, Eric started this thing, and it all kind of exploded. And getting back to the Tuesday thing, I was like, Eric, they're doing Tuesday night leagues in Madison, which is a bigger area, and they're getting at most 20 people. So I'm like, you're probably only going to get about 20 people. I think the first Tuesday league, he had probably 40 people.
Wow.
Which was like a normal tournament for us.
Right.
So yeah, it was. And then, it's gotten to a point where it's like, well, now you got to sign up for league, or you might not, I think he maxes out right now at like 90, 95 people. And it's gotten to a point where you got to sign up for tournaments and leagues early, because you might miss out.
See, and that is amazing. in itself. The fact that there's a league out there, there's probably less than 3 leagues in the entire country in which they have to max out their participants in that form. You know what I mean? That gets up to that level. That's insane.
It's amazing. And the amazing thing is he's still running tournaments during the,
Right.
COVID pandemic. He is doing things really the right way, though. He's doing temperature checks before you come in, and then everybody has to wear a mask when you're inside.
Right.
So, and there's hand sanitizer. I haven't felt comfortable to go back, but there's a lot of people still going. I mean, he's still getting 40 or 50 people at these events, which just it amazes me.
It
really amazes me.
So pretty much the way that he has it set up, not currently now, obviously during COVID, because there's a lot of different things, but the way that it was pre-COVID, was it pretty much what he had envisioned? What he came to you at the very first? It pretty much matches up?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I can't speak for Eric, but
right.
I'm sure he'd always, he always wants to expand and get more people to come. And, he'll call me up and how can we get more people? And I'm like, more people? You got 95 people coming.
Hey, it's just like collecting pinball machines. You gotta get one more. You're collecting league members now. We just need one more.
But, and it's hard to get, in some regards, it's hard to get new people to come and, and stick with it, and I think that's the challenge,
right.
How do you get people to really keep that interest in pinball alive when you have that many people competing? And I think Eric does it the right way. He holds different events. His leagues are all match play, and he leaves it open to everybody to, basically you can, while matches are going on, you can, play an open game as long as you're not annoying the people who are still playing.
Yeah, and there's something to that too. Whenever you pay a flat fee and you have all the pins on free play after that, the fact that you feel a little bit better as a player to go explore more, to get out of your comfort zone. You're not necessarily just going to put in just time on just a theme that you absolutely love. Like, you're going to find the older games. You're going to find stuff like that. I think that really helps the community get better overall, players get better overall. I mean, I think it's very helpful for sure. Absolutely.
And I would say for the most part, everybody's friendly there. If somebody came up to me and said, how do you play this game? I would tell them, unless we're in an active match, then I'm like, I really don't want to give you any tips to beat
right. Well, plus then you tell one person tips, you got to tell everybody then, just to make it right. Yeah.
Right. But, when people come up to me and they're like, how did you do this? Or, how do you get to this in this game? If I know, I'll tell them, and everybody's like that there, and that's the great thing about it.
Yeah.
Everybody's friendly.
That's really helpful too, especially when you have, I would think, having that big a community also, that a lot of people have a lot of knowledge on different games, and therefore it makes it a lot easier and a lot more accessible for newer players to get involved, because they have goals to go after immediately and they understand them easily, because I'm sure people can explain it fairly easily to them as well.
Well, and that I think his location has really helped me be a better all-around player, because typically I collect mostly the DMD games and the newer Sterns and newer games like that. Whereas I had limited EMs or early solid states, and there's a lot of that there. So I can go to those games and practice them and learn how to play them. Going to my first Pinburg, I remember playing games that I don't know what this game is, there's 300 plus games, how can you have that knowledge unless you've been playing competitively for a long time? You know.
Yeah, I would think Colin is about McAlpine is about the only one with his game of, or his notebook of like 600 games or whatever, something like that. Because we were talking about that earlier. I was talking about that with somebody else that, you know, I get caught up in that as well, going mainly the modern route. And I think everybody kind of does at the very beginning. And then
Sure.
you start discovering that there's some other games out there in terms of solid states or EMs, because I know for a fact, at least on a competitive level, I love classics, but I'm terrible at playing them. I think one of the first times we met was at Indisc, and the ongoing joke there was that the people that did know me were supposed to be stopping me from playing classics because I knew I was just throwing away my money, but it's like crack. I was just ready to go get more, and I just...
Yeah, I put maybe 2 or 4 entries in classics, and I was like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going back to Maine.
Yeah, that's about where I was at as well. Like, I purposely didn't go for the Target classics that they had at the beginning. Did you play in that at all? Do you know which event? Well, it was, I forgot what they called it. It was the classics event that they had the first day.
Yes,
I think Jason Weirdick won it. Yeah,
yes, I played horrible. I played absolutely horrible. First of all, I came with Ryan Spindler, who's a player from Madison.
Right.
And we got in that night. I think the night before I worked, we flew out late at night. I think we got in like California time, like midnight, 1 a.m., which is...
And it's still an hour drive pretty much from there.
Right. So yeah, by the time we got to our hotel, I think it was maybe 1:30 a.m. California time. And then, you know, you got to get up and go to the tournament in the morning, you know, so, and I can't remember when it started, but I remember I was so tired and I was like, why did I do this? And probably the first 5 rounds, I was like, I know I could be playing way better than this. And by the time we continued on, I was playing better, but I just felt like I was like, nah, I should have been more rested, more prepared for it.
Well,
but
it's one of those things
fun.
too.
It was still fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like that tournament was absolutely stacked because obviously it's all the best players pretty much from around the country were coming in for the Open anyways.
Yep.
And so a lot of them were using this as either ways to get, you know, more whoppers or ways to get warmed up, or, you know, or even I'm sure there were some players there that just wanted the opportunity to play with some big names at the very beginning as well. But the majority of people there, though, they were all legit players, and I was seeing big names at the bottom after 5 or 6 rounds. And, you know, I mean, that's going to happen. You know, when you're mixing that many great players, somebody's got to lose at some point. But yeah, it looked like a great tournament, though.
Yeah, it was well done. Carl pretty much ran it. He didn't play in it. He just ran the whole thing. And I mean, kudos to Carl for doing that. I mean, you know, running tournaments in my house, I'm like, there's no way I'd want to, you know, run a tournament all day and not playing it, because I'd be like itching to play, you know.
Yeah,
like, I gotta play.
Yeah, and that's a lot of sacrifice too, to do something like that, especially when you're also a world-class player yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you have this opportunity in your own backyard. You know, I don't know where he lives, but obviously he doesn't have quite as far to travel as the majority of people. But yeah, I mean, when you get that many people in, that's your friends, that are great players, you want to compete, you want to give yourself an opportunity to play against the best as well. So, I mean, that is a big deal that he helps put on that tournament without, I mean, it's totally a selfless thing to do for sure. Cause it's it's an excellent run tournament. I had a lot of fun there.
Yeah, it was great. And Jim Belcito too. I mean, I think Bob Matthews, yeah, those guys, I mean, that is a fantastic tournament. I'd go back there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that'll be the one. If they cancel that this upcoming year, which word going around is pretty much
sounds like it.
yeah, I am going to sit in the fetal position and just absolutely cry because I enjoyed that tournament so much. And getting out of Oklahoma, seeing something completely different, because California is completely different than Oklahoma. I mean, it was bonkers. I don't know if you looked out of your plane at the roads down below. I've never seen that much traffic in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it.
We kind of hit it going back to the airport. What was it? Sunday night. But while we left when was it the high stakes tournament was going on, and
right.
there even late at night there was a lot of traffic.
Yeah, it still took us an hour and a half to get back to the airport. Yep. And this was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And everybody's driving around like it was like 4 or 5 o'clock traffic here in Oklahoma. I'm like, you got to be kidding me here.
Yep.
Like my anxiety was just through the roof because I was driving with Sam Swain. I don't know if you remember who that is. He's based out of Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, but he was my ride there. And Sam decided we were driving on the Autobahn apparently, and we were just doing 90, 95 all the way to get back. And everybody else was doing 90, 95 to get back. I'm like, this is freaking nuts. Just take me back to Oklahoma where I might see somebody riding on a horse next to me or a tractor going down the road.
Right.
It was ridiculous. The things I do for pinball, man. Well, how did your overall open end up going? Because I know you made A division in Maine, which is incredible because, I mean, it was tough out there.
I made A division, and I think I was the second or third seed in my group, and I basically didn't get to pick any of the games. So our first one was I got knocked out in the first round. Our first one was Starlight, which honestly I've played it enough where I felt comfortable on it. But everybody in the group had just a horrible game. So it was basically like whoever could suck the least won that game. And unfortunately, I think I sucked the most. I was going into ball 3. I didn't need much of a score. It's like if I just do something, and I think I bricked a shot and it went down the out lane. It's like, well, there goes that. So now I'm like, okay, now I got to really, really play hard. And I think we played, class of 1812 was picked next. And I can't remember, I took first or second on that. And then, so I was feeling pretty good. And I'm like, okay, now I have to have a really good next game. And the next game was Jurassic Park. And I was like, I felt good about it. And I played decent on it, but not good enough.
Yeah.
So I think I took third on it or something like that. And again, if I just would have had a good game, I would have moved on.
Just have that one extra shot.
Yeah. It's like I started my control room. I think I was close to getting multi-ball going and chaos multi-ball. And
that was further than I got on that. I went there thinking Jurassic Park would be one of my cornerstones of my cards. I played it twice. I'm like, I'm complete horseshit on this game.
It played tough. I remember we were playing dollar games in the Classics Bank, and we were watching what was going on, and Elwin's on it, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna destroy this, and he had a bad game on it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, if he had a bad game on that game, I'm like, man, that was playing tough.
Yeah, it really was. I
remember
could not break 20 million on 3 games. I couldn't do it.
The tilt was tight. So if you were making your shots, you were in trouble. Yeah. But
that sums up my gameplay. That game pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny too, because you mentioned Elwin. He actually played in front of me on one of my games on Jurassic Park. And I'm like, you could look at this 2 ways, and I was looking at it from the positive way. Great. I'm going to see how he does it, and I'm going to try to do it like that. That was
Right.
in my head. I'm like, okay. And I noticed he was not post passing at all from left to right. He would go into, I guess it's the helicopter shot. I don't even know what you call that shot.
Like the
Far right.
Oh,
That
the
comes
far
back
right.
to, yeah, from the left. That comes back to the right.
The helipad shot.
Yeah, helipad shot. Right.
Yeah.
So he was going from left to the helipad shot, coming back to the right, and then comboing that T-Rex ramp. Correct?
Okay.
So I decided he's doing that all game. He's being successful with it. I'm like, I'm going to do the same thing. I get up there. I get all settled in. I aim for, brick, that lean power drain. I'm like, shit. So I get back on it. I do the same thing again. Ball 2. I'm like, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do it. Brick. Back out again.
One of my least favorite Pinburg memories was playing in a group with Elwin, Bob Matthews, and Chris Stevens. I think I was ranked. It was day one. I think I was ranked like 32 going into. It was the last round, and I remember the bank of games pretty. We started on I think it was Freedom, which NEM.
Right.
And first ball, I'm ahead of everybody. I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling good. That was the last time I led the entire 4-game series.
It happens like that.
Yeah.
It happens.
After that, it was the first time in Pinburg I took a 0 for the entire
round.
yeah.
Oh man. What year was this?
It was a couple of years ago.
So
So it's probably 2017, 2018.
Okay.
So and then that knocked me right into the B division. I was at the top of A, and the 0 brought me down to B.
Just a nuclear blast on your whole Pinburg. God.
It was Freedom, Vegas, which God, that's a terrible game.
Is that a solid state?
Yeah, it's a Gottlieb early solid state.
Okay. Yeah,
and basically the whole game is you loop the left, basically the left. And I'm watching Elwin doing like a freaking robot, and like he is just he must have hit the shot 15 times in a row. And I'd get up there, hit it once, twice, 3, brick, drain, and that pretty much how to score in that game is what you do there. And then we played Force 2, which at the time I had never played before in my life, had no idea what to do. And then we played Batman Dark Knight, which I owned at the time, and I felt pretty comfortable on it. I just I think I had like 30 million on it, and that was last place.
Wow. I bet that ended up being a long player too.
Yeah,
even on Pinburg settings.
Yeah. The other game,
you should just did the billion point hurry up. That's what you should have did. The billion point hurry up.
There you go.
Should just
have focused on that.
Well, you tried to do the low score strategy.
Right.
It just didn't work.
Yeah, didn't work. They weren't buying it. But it was kind of funny, Yeah, it was different. It was different experience.
Yeah, and at that stage too, I've only been able to play one Pinburg so far, and I had such a great time, but it was such a beautiful disaster at the same time too. And I know we've talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, I had one round in which I think my whole group ended up qualifying either E, D, or C division. And I was the leader in the pack with C division. Like, that's how bad we were all playing at the time. And what was really funny about it was this was a crucial round for me because I was still in the thick of things. Like, I was right on the cusp of A and B, right? I was like right on that cut line. And I felt like, okay, I'm playing bad, but I'm still here. Confident. Let's go for it. And we got Stern Dracula, very first game. And the group that I had they were all kind of, well, no, actually I take it back. I wasn't AB, I was BC. I was right there. So everybody here was kind of right around that area, right? And there was a nice lady in there that might have been like 60 some odd years old, sweetest woman ever. I think she went shopping in between rounds, had a bag. She never set the bag down, left it on the shoulder the whole entire game. just annihilated me. Just, oh my gosh. I got taken to school, just took it dead last on that game. And I was tilted from there. I'll admit, like, it wasn't even panic. It wasn't anxiety. It was like, are you effing kidding me right now? I couldn't hit anything. I would get trapped up. I'd get control. I wasn't getting house balls. I was blind. I could not hit anything but a post. And that's the way it goes sometimes.
It happens. I kind of relate pinball to golf. I mean, you can go out one day, play a course, and just play great. You're hitting your drives, you're knocking your short game's great. You're not going to close the hole. You're making all your putts, and then the next day you're hooking everything. You're slicing everything. You're hitting it over the green when you shouldn't be, and you're not making any putts. And that's sometimes how it can be.
Yeah, that's rough. It's like you get out of that flow state to where sometimes you can feel like you can hit any shot, and then other times you're just praying that you hit the biggest ramp out there. Even if it's not for any points, I'm like, I'm happy with that.
Like, how could I not be making this shot?
It happens every single time. Single time. I remember one game in particular. I think this was at Clepen. I was doing a qualifying match. It was Herb format, so best game, and I was on Metallica. And so I was just going to do Sparky all day strategy, and I legit missed Sparky 4 times in a row from a trap. Yeah. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And sometimes it just goes like that. It is what it is. And it sometimes be like that. It's just, it gets frustrating. But that's why pinball is very humbling.
Yes.
In that way. Very, very humbling in that way. Well, what's your plans then? If there's not going to be any pinball coming up, what's your plans for pinball in general? Are you going to be buying new games? Or are you going to be anything got your eye right now?
I'd like to eventually get a Turtles Pro. After playing that at when I did the stream at Player 2, I'm like, this is a really good game. It's got a great layout. I like how they put the 3 ramps in there too. Borg did a nice job, I think, with the game. But other than that, I'm gonna do some streaming. I'm hoping eventually to get back to playing some tournament pinball, but I think until the numbers are at least down to right now in our area, they're kind of fluctuating. The governor has a mask mandate, so you have to wear a mask inside. But other than that, our numbers are somewhere, they range from 400 to 800 cases a day in Wisconsin. Right.
Yeah, and it's hard to tell, especially with fall and winter coming up, when typically viruses get the worst.
Yep.
So there's no telling. That's why I'm just kind of sitting back, and I don't even anticipate playing again at an actual event until TPF of next year. And even then,
well, and hopefully,
even then I'm just cautiously. It would not surprise me one bit if we're still out until summer. Like, did they give you, because they obviously have pushed off IFBA, which is the World Championship for everybody. Do you know about when they pushed that off to? They given any indication?
Yeah, Josh sent emails out. It sounds like they're gonna move it basically to May, and it's kind of like nothing ever happened. So I guess originally it was supposed to be in Germany this year for IFPA. Would it be 18?
Was it Fort Myers? Because it's in Germany last year, is it?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be going back to Germany.
But you're talking about for next year, for 2021.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if the Fort Myers one happened, but it's still going to be in Fort Myers.
Okay.
So
I was curious how they were going to do that. If they were going to do basically 2 separate IFBAs, and how they were going to do the Stern Pro circuit, since they had to cancel that also, or postpone it at least. I'm curious to see how they do that as well.
I'm assuming nationals isn't going to happen this year, and the state championships and all that stuff, which I would assume, that's another thing. It's like, well, there's dollars out there. So I assume, that all gets calculated into when it just restarts back up.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's some normalcy by 2021, but who knows?
Yeah.
you know,
It's just one of those things that the toughest part about it is not the lack of tournaments. It's just the lack of interaction with people that you're used to interacting with on a consistent basis as well. Like just, like right now we're having, last time we saw each other was what, March? And now we're having just to talk through a computer in August, and there's still no end in sight. So
I know.
I don't know. I mean, I would say first world problems, but everybody's having this issue, and it's just, gosh. I mean, hopefully it ends at some point, but I could see eventually when things start kind of getting back to whatever normal's going to be at that point. I could see, events like you guys held, like the Pinskins event. I could see those types of events coming around, because that one, the way that you guys had that and put that on, that really interests me. Like, I would love to do an event similar to that, and I've tried to figure it out as well. And it just, I think that a lot of places, if they're still having events, that's a great example to look towards. And for those that are wondering, it's on Fox Cities Pinball, right, at your YouTube.
Yes.
So, and I'll link that down below in the show notes, and you guys will be able to see their full Pinskins event, which was 18 holes, I believe, and $10 per hole per player.
Yep. We each threw $10 in, and basically it was pin golf format, and we each came up with an objective, and the idea was to come up with really kind of hard objectives, but somewhat attainable. So there was a lot of like trying to get to mini wizard modes and things like that.
And all those pins were set up tournament caliber too, because they always are, which for those that don't know, when you got a pin set up tournament caliber, you usually have open out lanes, usually no rubbers on post, although, I mean, sometimes you will, and things are set to competition mode, and the games are just incredibly hard to play. So when you watch this video and you see what the targets are, like those are difficult to do on a default setup, and they're doing this on a tournament setting, which is pretty incredible. Like what, it was Hand of the King on
that was
Game of
one of
Thrones.
mine. Yep.
Yeah, and so what else did you have? What else did you do? Because you're the crazy person that says Hand of the King on Game of Thrones.
Typically, that's not a hard objective for me. Like, usually I can do it in 3 balls. That day I couldn't, and of course I was the one making the rules, like, well, you can't pick this house or that house, and to make it harder too. But
what was the default house you guys had it on? Do you remember?
I think you could pick anything but Stark or Tarragon. Tarragon.
Tarragaraga.
Yeah, right.
The dragon one.
The dragon one. Those 2 you couldn't pick, but anything else.
Okay. So what were the other games?
No, I'm sorry. I think I just finally made it. I'm like, just pick Martel.
Okay.
You can have the add-a-ball for multi-ball, which really, when you're getting to Hand of the King,
right,
as long as you're completing your modes in multi-ball, after that doesn't really matter.
Right.
So the other ones I picked Star Trek Premium, which I picked Kobayashi Maru, which blew up in my face.
It's because Luke, he goes for that every game, no matter what he's playing.
Right. Doesn't matter. It's Kobayashi Maru. I'm gonna go Kobayashi Maru this.
I'm playing Joker Poker. Let's go for Kobayashi Maru. Yeah.
Speaking of Joker Poker, the one at Free Play Florida.
See, thank you. We were actually talking about that on the last podcast. I briefly told that story on the last podcast when I had Dominic on, and we were kind of going over that, and I was telling myself, I need to get Luke on here for him to tell that story.
Yeah. Luke came up to me. He's like, there's no tilt in Joker Poker. I'm like, what? I'm like, I guess I've been playing that game wrong. As I'm seeing people like throw in the machine, and by the end of the night, I'm like, oh my God.
Well, that's what I was telling somebody about it. Or I was telling Dom about it. What cracked me up, I was like, Luke was like the kid when he came up and told us this, because I remember this. I was watching classics because I wasn't playing classics. I was just watching it. I actually had some self-control back then. But Luke came up to us, and he's like a kid on Christmas morning that just discovered he didn't just get one bike. He has 3 bikes under the tree. Because he's like, He's like, there's no tilt on Joker Poker. I'm like, oh shit, I know exactly what's going to happen. Not even 10 minutes later, I see that back box come off of Joker Poker because Luke is just having his way with it. we're at a high level tournament, and he's trapped up trying to push the back box back in.
The light board?
Yes. Yeah, the light board. Yeah. The light board.
I remember that. That was classic.
I was like, oh my gosh. And it didn't even tilt. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, everybody else sees this. What else is going to happen? This is going to be the most abused pin in the history of pinball. And he put up a high score too with that, I think.
I just remember I had a good game on God, what was it? Robo War.
Right.
Early on, I think I had the high score, and I had about 4 tournaments players. I think it was like Adam Lefkoff and Jim Belcito and a bunch of people. I didn't know it at the time, but when I finished my game, I looked behind me, and they're just watching. Adam's like, "What did you do?" And I told him, I'm like, well, first of all, because the gate's missing, I'm like, I made sure not to live catch. Right. And then I tried to go. He's like, did you try to go for a multi-ball? I said, I wasn't I tried a few times, and I did get a couple successful shots to it. But I wasn't necessarily hardcore trying for it.
Right.
That game is a lot of spinner, and if you can get it to the right side, not drain down that right in lane, right, and if you could get it to light your spinner, and you can really rip it and
just go to town on it.
Yeah, but it's hard to do, but the ball's just kind of magically sometimes got to go over there. You got to nudge it over there. But
it's one of those things too. Even in a herb format, you got to have a little bit of luck involved, at least on one or two. Like there's always, to me, especially dealing with a lot of top level players, there's always at least 2 or 3 games where you just know you're going to get a great score. Like you feel confident on it, you just know. And then you always got those filler games that, unless you're extremely lucky that they happen to have several games in which you have complete confidence on, you're always going to have those 1 or 2 games. You got to kind of explore things and figure it out. And that seems like what you did on that game. You figured some stuff out and you use that to your advantage. I mean, that's the perfect way to do it. And for anybody listening, if you're at a herb format, that's something that you really want to keep in mind, that if there's a particular game, even if you've never played it before, even if you've never even heard it before, give it a shot. You'll be surprised sometimes. I mean, I've seen people, I remember Sinbad was down there at Free Play, and I guarantee 90% of us have never played it before, and for even the 10% that did play it, probably wasn't confident on it either, but, and then that game played mean too.
I had a tough time on that game, and that one had the plastic protector on it, so it just seemed like the ball didn't move like it normally would.
No, it had some weird spin on it.
Yeah.
Some weird spin.
Yeah. And I played it a couple of times. I finally just gave up on it. But that was not one of my fun Sinbad moments, I guess. But
I played that a couple of times, but I got stuck on Grand Prix for legit 2 hours trying to put up a score on that. And so, I mean, it goes like that sometimes.
That was me Sunday morning. I decided I am going to play Meteor. And because I knew I knew I would have a good game if I just kept playing it. And, and I did. And that helped me get into, that was one of the games that helped me get in. But
I was salty that they took out Meteor out of finals. I was so salty about that.
They asked me what I wanted to play, and I was like, I'll take Meteor. Yeah. And I was in a group with Jeff Teolis, Greg Pavarelli, and I can't remember a fourth person, but Jeff
might have been Dominic Kasich with you guys, because I think you guys played the Guardians game too.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I think it's Dominic.
It was Dominic. You're correct. So we played, Jeff came over and was like, this game, the drop targets weren't resetting properly, which he was completely right. So it's like they decided to throw the game out. And so I ended up picking Devil's Dare, which I think I put like 2.5 million on it. And Greg was so close to passing me on ball 3, and he didn't. And then I picked Guardians, which I felt I feel like Guardians is like one of my go-to games.
Right.
But that one there played particularly tough. It had no ball save, had a really tight tilt, and then the feed from the right almost every time hit the slingshot.
Yep.
And then the slingshots were very sensitive. So, I mean, if it just like grazed the rubber, it was going to throw it.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Plus the flippers too were kind of depressed. I always forget how to call this, but they sagged a little bit. Yep.
Yeah. And I just remember I got to a good position. I started the blue mode, the pod one, and I started multi-ball, and that quickly went away in about 5 seconds. Is like, what happened?
Yeah. It played mean. I remember that because that was a legendary game where I think the winner might have even been Pavarelli with like 18.4 million.
Oh, it was less than that.
Like
I think the winner had like 9 million. It was like 9,876. It was that close, and then I had final pick, and I wanted Robo War really bad, and it wasn't available, and everything else I wanted to pick was already taken. So I ended up taking Volley, which again I felt comfortable with, but just had one of those games where the game decided, I'm going to throw you a couple house balls.
Yep.
And then after that it was like, I did what I could.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough.
At least you got yourself in a position to be a bus driver. So
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's always good to do. If you could do something like that, you're getting to pick the games, it's a lot easier to be comfortable when you have those choices early on, even if they don't work out. I mean, I've had times where it doesn't work out, but at least you're taking the plus expected value play for sure.
Exactly.
Well, dang. So with no IFBA coming up, no tournaments, at least you got pinball behind you, right?
Yeah, got pinball in the house. I'll be probably streaming more. I've been streaming a lot of Rick and Morty, which has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, how's that game going with the new code?
Pretty good. I really enjoy it. It's fun.
It's all coming together really well.
Yeah.
They have the wizard mode in yet?
No
wizard mode.
And it sounds like more adventures are coming. So, and they're tweaking things, and it's fun being part of the beta too, because I get to see what's coming before everybody else does, but I also have to deal with trying to find bugs and things like that too.
Right.
But that's not a big deal.
Well, that's excellent though, because now it sounds like their intentions, or at least their goals, are to kind of expand the parts of the game that the majority of players are going to see, obviously, or that all players are going to see, in terms of adding new modes or adding the way that the dimensions go and stuff like that. So that's pretty exciting, because I'm always curious about the wizard modes, but at the same time, that I feel like the end game content can definitely come a little bit later, as long as your current game, if you can make that experience so much better, I mean, that helps out a ton, especially the longevity of a game.
Absolutely.
Well, all right, Tom, where can we find you at? We've been talking about your Twitch and your YouTube. Let's tell the viewers where we can find you.
So you can find me on Twitch at Fox Cities Pinball. Also, Facebook, Fox Cities Pinball Stream. Instagram, Fox Cities Pinball. And then YouTube on Fox Cities Pinball. So pretty much just look up Fox Cities Pinball.
Hey, branding on point.
Right?
Branding is on point. There, everybody has it. Well, Tom Graf, I appreciate you being here, bud. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Travis. It's fun talking to you. I appreciate it.
Definitely too. And you guys all take care. Tom, you take care, and everybody else take care.
You too. Thanks.